She ran without looking back, lungs burning, feet slamming against the cold pavement, every heartbeat screaming that if she slowed down even a second, her life would be over. The world around her blurred into a smear of shadows, streetlights, and terror. Her name was Aisha, and she had never known fear like this. She wasn't running towards safety. She was simply running to stay alive. She didn't care where she ended up, only that she wasn't caught. She had lived through years of silence, humiliation, and threats, but tonight something inside her broke and she finally ran. The sound of footsteps thundered behind her, closer and closer, chasing her like a nightmare that refused to end. She had no weapon, no plan, and no help. Just her will to survive. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the strength to rise again, then before we go deeper, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to KindHeartsHub. Your support helps powerful stories like this reach more hearts. Aisha had not always been a girl running for her life. Once, she had been soft, spoken, hopeful, and full of plans. She had dreamed of college, a teaching career, and a small home filled with laughter. But life is not always generous. Her mother passed away when she was only 16, leaving her alone in a house where her stepfather ruled like a tyrant. He took every chance to remind her that she had no value, that no one would ever care for her, and that even God seemed to have forgotten her. At first, she bore the pain silently, believing she just needed time or strength. But pain has a way of growing, and his cruelty deepened over the years, from insults to forced labor, then finally to raising his hand against her when no one was there to stop him. She learned to move quietly, breathe quietly, exist quietly. If she stayed silent, maybe she survived another day. But tonight was different. Tonight, a single slap broke more than her skin. It broke her belief that she had to stay. It broke the thin thread her hope was hanging from, so she ran, into the rain, into the night, into the unknown. The storm seemed to join her tears, rain crashing hard against the ground, making the streets slick under her feet. Her slippers broke halfway down the road and she kicked them aside, running barefoot on wet asphalt. Her stepfather was screaming her name, not out of love but out of ownership. He had always believed she was his burden, his servant, his punching bag. Never once did he see the girl who just wanted to be safe. Aisha took a turn into a narrow street she had never walked before. Her heart pounded like a drum. She could barely see through the rain, but she kept moving. Ahead of her, something caught her eye, two tall shapes stationed near the entrance of a gate. She squinted through the rain. They looked like giant figures, standing still, metallic and solid even in the roaring storm. They were statues, massive iron guardians positioned at the gates of a private industrial site. She wasn't thinking clearly enough to question where she was. She just needed somewhere to hide. She sprinted inside the gate, her legs shaking, her breath ragged. Her stepfather's voice was louder now, calling her filthy, useless, worthless. She hid behind a large container, her back pressed against cold steel, her body trembling. Aisha closed her eyes and prayed, not for a miracle, but for 5 seconds more of strength. Somewhere above her, a security camera clicked to life. Inside the building, the night guards monitoring the footage leaned forward. One of them frowned at the sight of soaked, terrified movement on the screen. They zoomed in. A young woman, drenched and barefoot, was hiding behind the shipment crates. The guards exchanged glances. Then they saw another shape entering the gate. An older man, died, furious, stomping into the site while screaming her name. The guards had worked this job a long time. They had seen workers steal scrap, thieves slip in to take whatever they could, even kids coming to find a dry corner to sleep. But they had never seen a grown man chasing a terrified girl in the rain. One guard, a tall man named Harun, stood up without waiting for instructions. He was a father himself, and he didn't need details to understand the situation. Something deep inside him refused to let this end badly. Aisha didn't see him coming. She was shaking so hard she didn't even hear footsteps. When she finally looked up, she found herself face to chest with 2 uniformed security guards. For a moment, she froze, thinking she would be sent away, back into the hands of the man who had chased her here. But Harun simply placed his jacket around her shoulders, shielding her from the rain, and said nothing. He didn't ask her who she was. He didn't ask why she was running. He didn't ask what she had done. He just saw fear and chose compassion. Her stepfather stormed toward them, pointing and barking, claiming she was ungrateful, a runaway, trouble. He demanded she be handed back immediately, insisting they had no right to intervene. But Harun stepped forward, placing himself directly between Aisha and the man. His voice was calm but firm. He told the man that the girl was no longer alone, and any discussion would take place inside under supervision. The stepfather was furious, but with 3 security guards staring him down, he backed off just long enough for Aisha to be escorted inside. Safe in the office with warm tea in her hands, Aisha broke. The tears she held in for years finally spilled, not in quiet sobs, but in full, shaking cries that came from the deepest wounds inside her. The guards didn't ask for details. They simply listened. When Harun spoke, it was with softness. He told her no one deserved to live in fear, and that a person's worth wasn't decided by someone else's cruelty. He promised she wouldn't be forced back into harm. While they contacted the authorities and a local women's shelter, her stepfather ranted outside, pacing, shouting threats and curses. But the gates remained shut. The iron guardians, the silent statues she had unknowingly run beneath, had become symbols of a new truth. She wasn't alone anymore. Strength didn't always look like punching back. Sometimes strength was just surviving long enough for help to find you. The shelter took her in. It wasn't perfect, and healing wasn't instant. She still woke up shaking some nights. She still avoided loud voices. She still flinched at sudden movements. But slowly, day by day, she returned to herself. She enrolled in evening classes, and when asked why she wanted to become a teacher, she said she wanted children to grow into adults who never had to unlearn the belief that they mattered. She wanted to give hope the way strangers once gave it to her on a night when she had nothing left. Months later, she returned to the industrial site, not running, not crying, but standing on her own 2 feet. She brought a box of sweets for the guards and thanked them for saving her life. Harun smiled and told her that her courage had done the real work. They had merely opened the gate, and in a way, that was true. She had run because she finally realized something powerful. Some people stay in darkness because they believe it is the world they deserve. Aisha finally understood she deserved light. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to KindHeartsHub. Your support helps us continue telling real, emotional, and meaningful stories that inspire hope and humanity. Before we end, special request, comment below. Every person deserves safety and dignity. To spread awareness and strength for anyone who is still trying to escape their own darkness.